give you the knowledge that no one else will. Call AA Lock, Dock, and Security at 867-1965. That's 867-1965.
Hi, this is JP from Penn Flooring here in Ocala. I would like to invite you to come in and visit our spacious showroom where we have solutions for every style and budget. From wall-to-wall carpet to hardwood floors and tiles, we have an unsurpassed selection of flooring. At Penn Flooring, we've provided quality customer service with a family touch for over 25 years. Visit our website at pennflooring.com or come by our showroom, 1201 Southwest 17th Street, just over the bridge. Penn Flooring, quality customer service with a family touch.
Ocala's information station, 1370 WOCA. Ocala!
All right, 6 minutes after 9 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in this rainy Tuesday morning. And Carol Ann, who is the host of this show, is not in this morning. She has asked David Goodman to sit in on her behalf, so we'll get to know David in just a minute. First, I need to tell you that the show, the Garden Show, is brought to you by Black Cow and also by P&P Tikis and More. It's a new sponsor for Carol Ann's show. I don't even know that Carol Ann knows about this sponsor yet, so she'll be hearing it for the first time if she's listening, or she'll find out next week when she comes in. P&P Tikis looks like a pretty interesting company. They offer tiki huts, palm thatch structures, perfect for your garden. They have water features, ponds, fountains, streams, waterfalls, rainwater harvesting, and reuse. Wow, and as well as landscape architecture. So we'll find out more when their advertisement plays. Let me introduce you to David. He gave me a book that he wrote. It is called Create Your Own Florida Food Forest. David Goodman is a garden writer. He's a teacher, and he's the author of the book I just told you about, written by his under his fake name, his pseudonym, David the Good. I like that, which is makes sense, David Goodman. He also collects and sells rare and wonderful edible plants in his Florida Food Forests Plant Nursery. You can find his plants and get free gardening advice at the 326 Community Market every Thursday afternoon, or find his daily garden writing online at floridasurvivalgardening.com. David, nice to meet you. Thank you for coming in and doing this.
Thank you. Very glad to be here.
Do you live in Ocala?
I live up in Anthony, just a little bit north.
Oh, nice. And you have you eat totally from your garden?
On vegetables, we are completely self-sufficient off of the garden.
So you're not a vegetarian?
No, not a vegetarian. My wife raises rabbits. So we have rabbits. We feed the rabbits out of the garden. We have to buy some pellets.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, so we've been working towards complete self-sufficiency. We've got 1 acre.
Wow.
And fortunately, we're zoned agricultural because everything's always a farming mess.
Really?
On property. So.
Wow, that's impressive stuff.
Yeah, we moved to this area about 5 years ago and just started putting in trees first. Started putting in fruit trees. Started putting in garden beds.
Right.
And the trees, if you plant a couple of trees every year, after a few years, the trees start to pay for themselves. And at this point, at 5 years, the trees are really starting to kick.
How did this happen for you? I mean, is this the way you've always been? I mean, have you, as a child, were you interested in growing things?
Yeah, actually, when I was in kindergarten, they did that little thing where, the teacher brought in Dixie cups and a bag of potting soil and some bean seeds, and we all sprouted beans in cups. And I get to bring my little bean home in a cup. And when that bean came out of the ground about 4 or 5 days after I planted it, pops up, the little leaves open out. I was I was like, this is magic.
Yeah, it is
I've
magic.
never seen anything like this before, you know? So I immediately started digging through all my mom's seeds in the pantry, you know, breaking open the black beans and the kidney
Really?
beans and everything, and sticking every bean I could find into empty pots around, you know,
Really?
put some sand in a pot, stick it in there.
Do they grow?
They grow. Oh yeah, they
I didn't
grow.
know that.
Most of the time they do grow. As a matter of fact, I've planted cover crop mixes just from the bins at the Mother Earth market, you know, or the Earth Origins, and I just go to the bulk bins and fill up, you know, mung
Wow.
beans and rye and all that stuff. As long as it's not cooked, most of the time it still germinates.
So what is your favorite edible crop that you plant?
I'd have to say my favorite tree would be the mulberry tree. Hands down, my favorite. Easy to grow, you know, gallons of berries, and no work, no fertilizer. Stick it in the ground and you grow.
Would I know
grow
it?
your own
Help me,
berries.
try to help me visualize it. What does it look like?
All right, a mulberry tree has nice, broad, spreading leaves, and it has a fruit that looks just like a blackberry hanging on
Does
a
it?
tree.
Really?
Yeah,
Does it?
so it look like blackberries, but if it's a female tree, and there aren't any male pollinator trees, which mostly there's not very many male pollinator trees around, you'll have a seedless fruit that looks like a blackberry, but without the bitterness of a blackberry, and there's no thorns on the tree. So it's like a sweet, beautiful blackberry hanging on a tree. The reason I think mulberries probably fell out of favor is that they make a big mess. So if you have the tree, you know, hanging over a sidewalk or over a driveway,
Right.
when that fruit falls, it's gallons of purple berries falling all over the
Wow,
ground.
and we just let that go to waste.
And we let it go to waste. Yeah, that's
What do you do?
that's
What
pretty
do you
typical,
make
yeah.
it? Is it like a? What I'm trying to ask you? Do you make it into jelly? What do you do with
as
it?
a fresh fruit, it's delicious. I mean, it's a great tree for children because the children can go around and pick all the berries they want.
called
stain
mulberry.
themselves purple.
Does
Yeah.
it have like a velvety leaf?
There is the native one has a little bit of a fuzzy velvety leaf, but there's a paper mulberry, which is an invasive tree that is not the same at all. It's a cousin.
Ah, okay.
It's a cousin of the
A
regular
nasty
mulberry.
cousin.
Right. So it's the mean cousin. It's the invasive cousin. But yeah, it's a pretty nice looking shade tree, and unfortunately, I mean they've bred the tree. Some people have bred the tree to be fruitless just because it's a beautiful tree.
Right,
Well, I mean,
right,
it's kind of sad, you know, to take a fruit tree and breed the fruit out of it, but you know.
That is.
That's us.
It's kind of like counterintuitive, isn't it?
Right.
Let me mention, David is here to answer your questions, similar as Carol Ann would do. Carol Ann is not here. Where's Carol Ann? What's she doing?
I don't know. She just told me, man, would you fill in? And I
Okay.
said, sure. And she says, I have cool theme music. You'll like it.
She does have cool
So,
theme
okay,
music.
all right, I'll do it.
Except it would be cooler if it had your name in it this week, wouldn't it?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm not as pretty as Carol Ann. You know, I have less tattoos. I mean,
Oh,
you know,
is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, I have to ask her about that. I didn't know that.
Oh, shoot. I'm going to get in trouble. She's going to catch me.
David is here to answer your questions, and the phone number is the same as always. It's 622-9622 if you want to ask David a question. Now, you've written a book called Create Your Own Florida Food Forest. I have a question for you, and I was going to ask Carol Ann this. When I drive through the Silver River part of the Silver Spring State Park, now they renamed the whole thing, right? I don't see any, what do I have? I have a sago palm in my yard, and I have those palm trees. I don't see any
the
of them.
cabbage palms.
I don't see any of them naturally. I see the ones that grow. I don't see any out here. But the ones that grow low to the ground, those palms,
Yes.
they're all over the place in the Silver River State Park.
Yeah.
But the big tall palm trees are not there, and nor are those sago palms. Are they not natural?
Well, the sago palm is not.
Or
is
native,
not,
whatever
is
the
not
word
a
would be?
native. The cabbage palm is a native, but the trees that you'll find in different areas will vary according to the soil composition, the moisture, the altitude, and there's the mineralization of the soil, really. So you'll go to some places. Now, one of the first things I do when somebody says, "Hey, I want to plant a fruit tree in my yard," I say, "What's growing in your neighborhood?" And they say, "What do you mean, what's growing in my neighborhood?" I say, "Well, is there an empty lot? You know, is there an empty lot or a patch of woods growing there?" And they say, "Yeah." And I say, "What's growing there?" And if they say it's all pines, well, I know they probably have acidic soil. It's probably high draining, or it may be the edge of a swamp, because pines tend to go to the extremes. But it's usually high draining acidic soil. And I say, well, okay, if you've got pines, that's not the best place for most fruit trees. If you're not seeing any oaks or hickories or wild plums or
Oh,
sumacs
really?
and things like that, you're seeing just pretty much pines. If if you get into the nerdy side of things, you can read. I mean, they've named all these communities. There's the oak pine this, and there's the such and such oak scrub.
Right.
And one of the roughest areas to grow in is if you have a lot of pines and you have a lot of palmettos. And the pines would be the tall part of the forest, and then the understory is palmettos. And if the palmettos have yellow leaves, then you're really in trouble. So
that describes the Silver Spring State Park.
Right. Yeah. There's a lot of scrubland right around there.
Oh.
And you'll see some really interesting native plants that don't grow elsewhere. If you have prickly pears and those horse nettles, also called tread softly. If you see, there's wild pawpaws that grow in those areas.
Really?
There's some stuff that you wouldn't usually see in, say, oak forest. Usually if you have live oaks and hickories and wild plums, you have pretty good soil. You usually have decent soil. So if you've got that thick, dense forest, you usually have a darker gray, richer type of soil to support it.
Wow. Okay, we've got questions. We have people calling in, but I got to take a little break first, and we'll be right back. David Goodman sitting in for Carol Ann Baldwin. The show is In the Garden with Carol Ann. Today, Carol Ann not here, of course. David Goodman sitting in Carol Ann's place. We'll take a little break. If you're on hold right now, just hang in there. This break will take two and a half minutes. We'll be right back. This is The Source, WOCA Ocala.
The weather is brought to you by myfwc.com. Safe boating is no accident. It'll be mostly cloudy today with a couple of showers and thunderstorms. Any thunderstorm can produce flooding downpours and damaging wind gusts later today, the high 77 to 81. Mostly cloudy tonight with a couple of showers and a thunderstorm around, those 67 to 71. Tomorrow, mostly cloudy and breezy with a couple of showers and heavy thunderstorms, the high 82 to 86. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Joe Lundberg.
Wow, I can't believe what I'm seeing. Who did this?
P&P Tiki's and more, of course. Now I have a tiki hut for shade, and I can enjoy the sounds of my cascading fountain while feeding my koi fish in my own pond. They even fixed my fence and redid all my landscaping. Nice to see a professional, reliable, family-owned business. Yes, P&P Tiki's is the natural Florida tiki builder and water features designer. With free estimates, P&P Tiki's is licensed and insured. Call 352-877-3307 for your very own tiki hut and more. That's 352-877-3307. P&P Tiki's.
All right, 17 minutes after 9 o'clock. David Goodman is sitting in for Carol Ann Baldwin. The show, of course, is In the Garden with Carol Ann, and the purpose of the show is to learn about gardening. David also is the author of a book called Create Your Own Florida Food Forest. He and his wife are sustaining themselves, sounds like pretty much, between their vegetables and their rabbits. So I actually saw a rabbit for sale in Publix, by the way. So.
Publix has everything.
Are you the supplier? Do you supply Publix?
No, not yet.
With their rabbit?
Not yet. Maybe soon.
All right, we do have somebody waiting patiently. Good morning. Thank you for calling and for waiting. You're on the air with David Goodman.
Good morning. I know that the plant I'm talking about has an asparagus in it, but it's an asparagus fern. I don't think it's good to eat. But I want to know how to get rid of this thing. It was a beautiful little thing in one of those little garden dishes that we got from someplace. I put it outside, and now they're all over my flower bed. Picky things in it, and it's just terrible. How do I get rid of it?
Well, that's a good one. I actually helped my parents get rid of a big patch of that. They had two patches of it, and the problem is there's two ways that it stays in the ground. It's got those underground storage roots that will pop back up again when you tear it out, and it also drops a lot of little red seeds, which have those black seeds inside of those red berries, and they get spread all over, and they're going to probably germinate for a period of time. The best way to get rid of it, first of all, would be to attack the patch with something like a digging fork or a grub hoe. If you haven't seen a grub hoe before, that's an old school tool with a nice big heavy head on it, and it's a digging hoe. There's a site that sells them called Easy Digging. Easy Digging sells these big old grub hoes, and it's an old-fashioned tool, dates back to Roman times, and allows you to chop and throw things out of the ground a lot quicker than trying to do the multiple motions of using a shovel. So after you remove the roots as much as possible, just hack into that thing and tear it out. It usually comes out in a big mat. If you can get some good gloves on there and probably some long sleeves and start yanking at it to keep from getting the thorns. if you can pull as much of it out of there as possible, then turn around and put down some sort of a weed barrier. I like to put down a couple of layers of cardboard because it doesn't leave plastic or shredded fabric in the ground that breaks down over time and makes a mess. Couple layers of cardboard and then mulch about 6 inches on top of it, and you should be able to crush it out, depending on how far it's spread. But at that point, you're going to have to start looking around for those they look like little teeny Christmas tree sprouts when they pop up, and watch for those popping up elsewhere. And
Right.
It really is a pain in the neck. I mean, how far is it spread at this point?
It's probably 6-8 feet. So when do you have time to come over and show me how to do that?
I could tell you where I dumpster dive for cardboard, maybe, but
Thank you very much, Dave.
yes, absolutely. Good luck.
Yeah, that did sound complicated. Yeah, you got to the point where I was thinking, gosh, I'm lost. I need to hire somebody for that project. Yeah, I'm with them, yeah. The phone line is open if you want to call David. This is a good time. The number is 622-9622. If you're just tuning in, David Goodman is sitting in for Carol Ann Baldwin, who is out on a mystery trip somewhere. We don't know why. So I saw her post on Facebook about she built a trike out of like the back half of a Volkswagen.
I didn't see that.
And she said it went to the motorcycle gathering, but she didn't. It went, but she didn't. So tell me, if I were... See, we used to broadcast from the Cascades, so they have a big garden down there.
Right.
And I think I asked Carol Ann one time that if for some reason I was stuck here and all I had to live on was the vegetables outside the window, could I? So I'm going to ask you the same thing, even though there's not much here. I mean, all we have is hedges. I mean, is there anything that you're looking at right there that is actually edible?
Oh, let's see. You've got some ornamental grasses out there. It looks like that maybe a couple of azaleas to one edge.
Anything edible there?
Azaleas. The only thing that's edible out here that I'm seeing is the cabbage palms. You can cut out the heart of palm on a cabbage palm and eat it. It's about the top
How do you get
14
that?
to 18 inches. Well, unfortunately, you have to cut the tree down.
Oh.
And it's the growth center of the tree, and it's a very tender, delicious vegetable.
Do they sell that in the grocery store?
Not usually. Every once in a while, you'll see it canned for sale, and it's
Really?
called heart of palm. And
Oh, okay.
sometimes it's cabbage palm, and sometimes it's other palms.
So are there actually farms that grow this?
Well, the problem with cabbage palms is they take a long time to get big enough.
seems like it,
you're talking
yeah.
8 to 10 years probably before it's harvestable, and at that point you kill the whole palm to get the equivalent of 3 cabbages, maybe. So it's sort of a last resort kind of a food. Or if you're in an area with a lot of cabbage palms and you had to thin a few out, it's not that big a deal, but it's sort of sad.
It does sound sad. So does the coconut tree have a cabbage palm in it, or is that two? They look the same, or are they different?
I have heard that you can do heart of palm out of the center of a coconut. Unfortunately, the only palm trees we have here that really are a good edible that you don't have to kill the tree for is the pindo palm, which is that silvery blue, pretty green palm. It's a very cold hardy variety that they sell as a landscaping palm, but it makes a big spray of bright yellow fruit. And the other name for it is the wine palm or the jelly palm. And those fruit taste like coconut and pineapple. They taste like a tropical, kind of a tart, sweet.
I think
tropical
I've seen
fruit.
this. I mean, it's
A lot of people just cut them off the tree. They go, I don't want that big ugly thing dropping fruit. I'm just going to cut it off.
Right.
And, they take that off. But some of the older folks know you can eat those and make jams out of them and make jelly out of them. We've done it a few times, and it tastes like a tropical
wow. So you and your wife,
jam.
you really you have jelly right now, like preserved.
Yeah, we do that. We do canning, and I figure if I'm going to be a garden writer, I'd better be actually doing gardening. And what I do is I'm pretty much on the end of food gardening and not so much ornamental gardening. I'm not particularly interested. I'm interested in how can people feed themselves and how can they feed themselves really easily.
Did you ever go to the Thai restaurant? They put a flower on your plate and you're supposed to be able to eat it.
Oh, yeah, there's quite a few edible flowers. I'm not sure which one they're using, though.
It's a pretty one. And I when I bought it, we had a meal and we each had a flower on our plate. And I said, well, let me give you the flower back. I hate to throw this away.
Yeah.
No, we don't take it back. They don't take it back. So I guess you could take it with you.
You could eat it or take it with you.
Get a little
stick it in your buttonhole.
Yeah, put it.
And snack on it later.
Today is National Blueberry Pie Day. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
It is today. Today's National Blueberry Pie Day.
We should have some here. I should have brought one in.
I know. I got started late. I didn't get to Walmart. And I didn't know if they would have it. So can we grow blueberries around here?
Oh, yes, absolutely. This is actually Now, for those folks that do have pines growing in their yards, blueberries love pines. And there are multiple varieties of wild blueberries that grow across Florida. And most people don't know that.
Really?
There are wild blueberries, particularly in bad, scrubby, acid, high-draining, hot areas, which is funny because a lot of people try growing food and they try and grow it in their yard under nice conditions and it won't grow. But then you could go out in the woods, and pick blueberries
Isn't
that grow
that amazing?
themselves. Yeah, most of the wild blueberries are not very big, but they're delicious. And
Do you ever go hiking like through the woods and find things that other people would never even realize you could eat?
well, yeah, I've actually been a consultant for particularly prepper and survivalist individuals who are setting up a
Oh, I
homestead.
would love to follow you with a camera.
I did a wild plant walk down in Lake County this last month, and we just wandered through a park of scrubland, and we found about 15 or 16 different edibles. People were trying shoots, and I was picking leaves. We actually even very carefully harvested some prickly pear cactus pads, spined them,
Right,
and we
right,
served
right,
them. They
right.
taste great. They taste like bell pepper.
We've had
Just-
people call in and ask about the prickly pear and
Oh, you can eat it. You can eat. Actually, all the pad cactus are edible. There isn't a.
Really?
If they have those pads that connect, they're edible. It's just, don't. Just be careful.
so what's in your lunch? What are you having for lunch today?
Oh goodness! When I get home, I'd like to say, yeah, I'm going to go home and I'm going to kill a rabbit and I'm going to roast it. But
How do you kill? I could never kill a rabbit.
oh, it's so sad. I just let. My
It's
wife-
sad?
I just let my wife do it. I just
No
let my wife
way.
do it,
Is
yeah.
it really sad for you?
Not particularly.
Do you get
We
clo-
grow them for food, and they have a much nicer life.
How
than
many rabbits
in
do you
the wild.
have?
Oh, we've got about 40. Actually, I have to check on them when I get home because multiples are having babies today, apparently. So or
Wow.
probably last night.
And you don't get close to them at all, huh?
Yeah, well, the children get a new set of baby bunnies to see every couple of weeks. Oh, there's baby bunnies again.
How old are
But
your
then-
children?
My children range between 1 and 10.
Oh, okay. So they grew up with this. So
They grew up with it. Yeah, yeah.
It's kind of like having chickens. Yeah.
It is, and
I don't
if
know
you-
why that's different.
When you watch the little bunnies run around the cage, you're like, okay, curry, stew, soup,
Oh, those are their names.
Oh yeah.
Oh no.
No, we don't name them. They're taken very good care of until the day that we eat them.
How old are they when they become food?
Oh my goodness, probably it's about 2 to 3 months usually.
That's it, huh?
That's it. Yeah.
They don't have much of a life.
No,
Are-
but in the wild, most of them don't even live to that old. I mean, if
Are
you
they
think of snakes and everything else?
What do they call with? Yeah. Well, yeah. I guess if that's what.
It's kind of rough. And if you ever see what a factory food operation looks like, I mean, it's one of those.
Well, that's what I was getting
The
at.
factory food is so awful compared to
Yeah.
raising chickens in your backyard. I had friends say, "I can't believe you kill your chickens. You're so horrible." And I said, "Well, do you eat any meat?" And she goes, "Oh yeah, I eat chicken." I said, "Have you ever looked up on YouTube what a chicken factory house looks
I
like?" I
know.
said, "That's cruelty."
It is.
So my chickens run around the yard. They have a nice time, and every once in a while they get killed. Just
So, so what is the term they use? Free ranging chickens.
yeah, free ranging chickens. It's one of those great ideas that seems like it's a wonderful, awesome thing until you actually try it for a while. Kind of like cloth diapers,
Really?
After you try and free range the birds for a while, you realize that everything in the world wants to eat chickens. See, so the first time we did it, we had these beautiful little 3-month-old birds that we'd raised so carefully,
Right.
eggs, and this hawk comes down out of the sky. Boom! Nails the bird right in the backyard, and my kids are all yelling, and it grabbed the little chicken and it carried it up into one of the trees, and you can hear the chick. The hawk's just tearing into it. It was like, wow, nature is really mean.
Wow.
And then raccoons and possums.
So
and,
free range chicken is not safe for the chicken.
Yeah, and it's also not safe for your porches because the chickens like to congregate there and leave lots of droppings all over the place, and they tear
Wow.
your mulch up. And I mean, the chickens have a great time, except for randomly
But they
getting killed.
say free range chicken tastes better, is
Oh,
healthier.
it does taste better. The trick with it is really not to free range, like wide open range, but to put them in a movable cage so you can keep moving them around so that the predators aren't going to get them. but the cage can keep being moved to fresh grass and fresh weeds where they can eat their hearts out. And that's what we do. We move them around so they're always getting fresh grass. And chickens will eat 15% or so of their diet can be grass and weeds. And so you're actually saving, plus the eggs are rich and yellow, and they're out there eating bugs and scratching up the yard. And anywhere I've moved them on the lawn, if you move them fast enough, the lawn gets trimmed and manured, so you end up with these green patches where you've left it.
Once again, we're up against the break, so we have to take a little break and we'll be right back. If you're on hold, I apologize. I will get to you when we come back. David Goodman sitting in for Carol Ann Baldwin. His book is called Create Your Own Florida Food Forest, and your questions are important. We will get to them, I promise. And this show is brought to you by Black Cow, the mature manure, as well as P&P Tiki. You got to check out some of their tiki huts. I'll give you the web address when we come back. This is WOCA. We'll be right back.
Fox News Radio, I'm Lillian Wu. Baltimore reeling from a night of violence. Demonstrators angry over the death of a man in police custody.
What happened here last night destroyed so much of the progress that the people who actually live here have been working for.
Mayor Stephanie Rawlings-Blake a short while ago surveying the damage, which included a senior center that was under construction. The Senate begins debate on a bill to give Congress power to review and possibly reject any nuclear pact the White House develops with Iran. And in Portland,
Damian Lillard's 32 points led the Blazers to a 99-92 win over Memphis. The Grizzlies still lead the best-of-7 series 3-1. The Bucks avoided elimination.
Just fought, man. We believed that we could beat this team.
Chris Middleton's 21 points helped Milwaukee to a 94-88 victory at Chicago.
Fox Radio's Ron Flatter, Brooklyn beating Atlanta to even that series 2-2. Fox News, we report, you decide.
You've walked through 18 open houses, your feet hurt and your head is buzzing. Living in a van is starting to sound strangely appealing, but then you hear it. The sound of hope, of Zillow. You glance at your phone to see a 3-bedroom Craftsman in the right school district. It's perfect, and it just showed up on your phone, like magic. So sign up for mobile alerts, and we'll send you homes that fit your criteria when they hit the market. And to think, you wanted to live in a van. Zillow. Find your way home.
Let's get down to business. You don't travel too often for work, but when you do, you want to stay where you know you'll be taken care of. That's where Choice Hotels comes in. We have everything you need to keep you on top of your game, like free hot breakfast for that much-needed morning boost, free internet to keep you in touch with home base, and a generous loyalty program so you can earn great rewards. Stay for business at Choice Hotels and book now at choicehotels.com. Great endings begin here. Amenities vary by location.
Black Cow composted cow manure is a terrific organic soil amendment. We start with cow manure from dairy farms and then compost it a full 90 days. The result is an all-natural, dark, rich soil amendment that's great for everything you grow. Flowers, vegetables, shrubs, trees, and lawns too. Look for Black Cow in the bright yellow and black bag at your favorite nursery or garden center.
Black Cow, the mature manure. Black Cow. Black Cow, the mature manure. Black Cow.
We often mention enriching your native soil with Black Cow when you prepare a flower bed or vegetable garden, or plant new shrubs and trees. Adding Black Cow helps retain moisture and adds millions of healthy microbes to your soil. Healthy soil means healthy plants, but you can also top dress with Black Cow composted cow manure even after planting. You can come back a month or two later and spread Black Cow on top of the soil around the root zone of a shrub or tree, or spread it evenly over a flower bed or rows of vegetables in your garden. Black Cow releases nutrients slowly. It won't burn tender roots because it's fully composted. Look for the bright yellow and black bag at your favorite nursery or garden center. And visit the website too at blackcow, spelled with a K.com.
Black Cow, the mature manure. Black Cow.
Hi, Danny Warfel here. Get moving with Florida Credit Union's fast and easy loan approval process.
Let Florida Credit Union start up a new car loan for you today. No more waiting, hassles, or stop signs. You can even apply online. With a strong financial team behind you, you can enjoy great rates and fast approvals.
It's all about personalized service and a streamlined process.
Florida Credit Union, connecting your money to your life.
All right, 25 minutes before 10 o'clock, let's return to In the Garden with Carol Ann, although we're not in the garden with Carol Ann Baldwin today because she had to do something else. So she has invited a friend of hers, David Goodman. He's in the studio. He's here to answer your questions. If you were on hold and I didn't get to you, I apologize, and I will make sure I'm looking right at the screen. So if you call right now, I'll get you on with David. David is also the author of a book called Create Your Own Florida Food Forest. I think that's what we want to focus on right now, but don't hesitate to call if you want to call. And let me just one more time re-mention that the show is sponsored by Black Cow, the Mature Manure, and P&P Tikis. Their website, I promised I would tell it to you, it is pptikihuts.com, pptikihuts.com. Check it out. We did ourselves. We looked at it, and some nice looking tiki huts. It's not what you're thinking. They're big things, though. They can be. You can have big or small. Yeah. All right. So the food forest, what is that?
Well, the idea is to create a forest, and the forest is a forest of edibles. It could also be called a forest garden. So you're creating a forest ecosystem that will feed you and take care of you. And a lot of people want to do the regular gardening thing where you put in a couple of beds, and as anybody that's done that for a period of time knows, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work to keep a vegetable garden going. If you want good cabbages or sweet corn or something like that, it takes the working the ground, it takes fertilizing, it takes regularly picking bugs and all that sort of stuff. But you can look across the street and there's an entire forest across the street nobody's taking care of it, and it looks good.
Yeah.
And if you've ever gone to check out old properties, I remember in the middle of the whole foreclosure crash thing, we were looking around for a house, trying to figure out what we could afford, and we were going to these houses with weeds are waist high out in the yard, and we would look up and there would be 4 or 5 grapefruit trees and 400 pounds of grapefruit falling all over the ground, and nobody's taking care of it. There's a broken car out there, there's glass in the yard, and then there's this grapefruit tree. Nobody's taking care of the tree anymore. A tree can take care of itself, whereas a little annual garden, if you walk away from an annual garden, you won't even know there was a garden there in 2 years. But if you take care of a fruit tree for a little while and it starts kicking, particularly a tree that's easier to take care of, like a mulberry or a Japanese persimmon or a loquat, those trees, they just go for years. You find them in empty lots sometimes. And
that's true. I never thought of that. And so your proposal is
my proposal is to, rather than annual gardening where you're planting and replanting and tilling the ground every year and working like crazy, put in groups of fruit trees together so they shade the ground and they work together. One tree in the middle of a grassy lawn is not usually that happy a tree. They fight with the grass. You always have to take care of it. It seems like every squirrel and bird in the world jumps in.
Right.
But with a food forest, you would look and say, okay, what's the tall trees? What would be the canopy trees? What would be the sub-canopy? So what's your tall trees in the forest? What's your, which ones are your middle size? Which ones are your short ones? What are your shrubs? What are your vines? What are your roots? What are the herbs growing on the ground? What kind of wildflowers are growing? And you recreate that. So you might plant a pecan tree, and then next to the pecan tree, you might put a smaller, maybe a Chinese chestnut tree, and you might put a Japanese persimmon, you might put an orange tree. You put a few trees around that tree, and then around those trees, you say, what would be the shorter thing? Well, I'm going to plant some rabbit eye blueberries. I'm going to plant strawberry guava. I'm going to plant Mexican tree spinach. I'm going to plant some of these perennials.
I never even knew some of these things.
We've been collecting strange vegetables and testing them in Florida for a long time. Some of these things are so easy to grow. I don't know why people work so hard. It's just because they don't know, they don't even know the names.
Will that book help us do that? Will your book help?
I actually have there's a cheat sheet to Florida gardening, which is an appendix.
This is a very small book, so I'm guessing.
It's just a little booklet. It's kind of a get started guide.
Okay, all right.
And it's on Amazon as a Kindle edition, or you can find it at the website at Florida Survival Gardening.
Does this represent your yard? Is this what your yard looks like?
A lot of these plants are in my yard. I've got about 100 fruit trees in my yard.
You said you have 1 acre?
I have 1 acre, yeah. We've got 20 annual garden beds in the backyard. We interplant trees at a much higher rate than the University of Florida would recommend.
I bet your children love hide and seek in your yard.
Oh, they do.
You must have a lot of places to hide.
Oh, there's all kinds of places. Well, they can actually feed themselves. I mean, if we get, if they're
wow,
they make too much of a mess indoors, they spread Legos all over the place. It's like, just go outside and go eat lunch, and go kill yourself a rabbit.
Go
no,
eat
not really.
Lunch. go pick some fruit.
Go start a fire out there. Yeah, well, a lot of times, I mean, you can eat year round here in Florida because there's vegetables that grow. Yeah, you have to eat year round, right? But you can eat year round out of your yard in Florida because the cold tolerant, you can have your cold tolerant plants in your annual gardens like your mustards and your kales, and you can eat some real good hearty stuff like that, cabbages, beets through the winter.
Right.
And then, some of your fruits come in. Mulberries and loquats are real easy in the season, early, usually March, and then coming into April, and then you're followed by, you've got your peaches, and you've got blueberries and blackberries, and then as you come into the fall, you've got persimmons and chestnuts and pecans, and then in the winter, you've got citrus. So you could, if you plant enough trees, you can have
are a healthy eater. That all sounds healthy to me.
We try. Yeah, we try. And meat and vegetables and not a lot of grains, because grains take way too much work to grow in a small plot.
Really? So you don't have any bread?
We eat bread occasionally. My wife will buy flour sometimes, but not a lot. We eat a lot of greens, and we eat a lot of roots out of the garden. We had 150 pounds of sweet potatoes last year, about 200 pounds of Seminole pumpkin, which is an old heirloom pumpkin from Florida. The natives used to grow it. And
so
we eat a lot of orange stuff.
Do you have potatoes? You have some of the normal vegetables?
Yeah, we grow potatoes are coming in right now. We're getting potatoes, but I don't find potatoes to be quite as productive a root vegetable. A better root vegetable for here are African yams, which are not sweet potatoes. They're actually the true yams. If you ever go to, say, Bravo's supermarket, or you go to the ethnic section of a market or an oriental market, you'll see these great big, they look like a big, weird potato, with kind of like this rough skin on them.
Okay.
They taste like potatoes, but they grow much better here in this climate because they're less disease prone. You can take those and actually, if you look up yams on my website, you'll see a few different varieties and how you propagate and grow them. But we found, I harvested a yam last year that was a 27-pound tuber, which was about 30,000 calories. I calculated it.
Wow.
So there's this picture of me holding this massive root, and it was a 2-year-old yam root. And the people just aren't familiar with yams. They're a climbing vine. They go right up into a tree. Air potato is actually a type. Can you
eat that?
There are air potato varieties that are edible, but the wild ones we have here are too high in diastenin, which will make you go sterile and also really mess your stomach up.
It'll make you go sterile?
Yeah, it's a birth control hormone. So you don't want to eat those wild ones that are grown out there.
I didn't. Wow.
There's a reason that they've been trying to eradicate them.
Is that the only thing it'll do to you?
I mean, it'd make you sick to your stomach.
Oh, okay, okay. I mean, I think there could be a positive end to that. I mean, that could be.
Everybody.
What do you call it? Prophylactic?
Yeah, right. You just go and eat yourself some air potato. If you could quit vomiting long enough to go sterile, it would probably be a great idea. Yeah.
Oh no.
But the
would you be permanently sterile? I mean, you're done.
It's just what I've read online. But
Not that I care anymore, but
some of the yams make they do make a birth control hormone. It's actually where it's been extracted from yams. They're grown for pharmaceutical purposes. But this is Dioscorea bulbifera. The air potato has that. Whereas the true yams, which are their cousins, they grow almost as vigorously as the air potato, but they're not invasive. And they'll make a beautiful, beautiful big root, and they make great hash browns, home fries.
Did you go to school in Gainesville?
No, I didn't.
Where'd you go to school?
I went to school at Florida Atlantic University down in Boca Raton.
Okay. Well, the reason I was asking, because I took a sneak peek in your book here, and you mentioned the bat houses, and I know they have at least one up in Gainesville.
They do. Yeah, they're awesome.
So do you have a bat house at your place?
I have a bat house, but I haven't put it up yet. I've got to get a gigantic pole and stick it out in the middle of my yard for the bats.
And how big is it? How big is the bat house?
Oh, the bat house is just a small one, little unit I bought from the Master Gardener spring sale.
And the purpose of that would be to what?
Mosquito control. Mosquito control primarily, because bats eat.
Could I have that?
Mosquitoes.
I mean, do I have to have an acre? I don't have an acre. I live.
Oh no. Yeah, you can. I mean, if there are bats flying around your neighborhood, which there are most of the time, you go out at dusk and look around. Usually they're flying around.
Usually you see them. Right? It looks like them.
See them. They like an open spot that's sunny and open. They don't like to have a bat house tucked up right up against a tree or something.
But if they are there already, what benefit would the bat house do? I mean, if they're there, and I still have mosquitoes.
You're putting them out. You're hoping that they're going to eat
closer
mosquitoes out of your yard first. And another benefit is if you've got that bat house, bat manure is a really good manure. It's loaded with nitrogen.
Wow.
So, yeah, bat guano. They actually sell it, but
bat
it's really
guano? That's
guano.
What they call it?
Yeah, they had to come up with a nice name for it.
Right, because poop doesn't sound good.
No, it just doesn't sound right. No, I don't want that. I want guano.
We are up against another break. If you have a question, if you want to phone David, this is a good time to do it. You'll be on hold about 2 minutes. We'll take a little break. Wow, it's gone so fast, David. David Goodman is in the studio sitting in for Carol Ann Baldwin. The show is In the Garden with Carol Ann. In her absence, David is here. He's also the author of the book called Create Your Own Florida Food Forest. He just told us there's a download, what do you call it, like a Kindle?
Yeah, there's a Kindle version of it on Amazon.
And you don't use your name.
Florida Food Forest. It's David the Good, yes.
David the Good.
There's a lot of David Goodmans
out
there,
see.
So it's like the John Smith,
Gosh, I had a question. I forget what it was. All right, let's take a little break, and we will be right back.
The weather is brought to you by myfwc.com. Safe boating is no accident. It'll be mostly cloudy today with a couple of showers and thunderstorms. Any thunderstorm can produce flooding downpours and damaging wind gusts later today, the high 77 to 81. Mostly cloudy tonight with a couple of showers and a thunderstorm around, low 67 to 71. Tomorrow, mostly cloudy and breezy with a couple of showers and heavy thunderstorms, the high 82 to 86. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Joe Lundberg.
What are the most common questions those nearing retirement are asking? Will I outlive my money? Retirement questions like these and many more will be answered every Saturday morning at 9 a.m. on Planning for a Better and Safer Retirement with hosts Francois and Julian Pozanetti. Francois and Julian will help you put your retirement puzzle together. Catch Planning for a Better and Safer Retirement Saturdays at 9 a.m. on Ocala's News Talk, The Source 96.3 FM and 1370 AM.
A garden, and we've got a show for you called You've Got a Garden with your host, Master Gardener Carol Ann Baldwin. Carol Ann answers your questions about your flowers, your veggies, your grass, your trees, even questions about your bugs. And she's only on WOCA, so don't miss Carol Ann Baldwin and You've Got a Garden each Tuesday from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. right here on WOCA The Source.
Career Source, Citrus, Levy, Marion brings together business and community partners, economic development leaders, and educational providers to connect employers with qualified, skilled talent and job seekers with employment and career development opportunities. Tune in the first and third Wednesday of each month at 9:30 a.m. to Career Source, Citrus, Levy, Marion, and learn how they can help you.
That was the sound of a tree falling. It could be your tree. You're going to have it trimmed, but never got around to calling Pride Tree Service. It could have fallen in a field, and now all you have to do is call Pride Tree Service, and they'll have it quickly out of the way for a great price. But don't wait until the tree falls. It may not fall in the field. It may hit your car, your house, or worse. So call Pride Tree Service today and avoid all those headaches before they happen. Pride Tree Service, 840-0750. That's 840-0750.
Wow, I can't believe what I'm seeing. Who did this?
P&P Tikis and more, of course. Now I have a tiki hut for shade, and I can enjoy the sounds of my cascading fountain while feeding my koi fish in my own pond. They even fixed my fence and redid all my landscaping. Nice to see a professional, reliable, family-owned business. Yes, P&P Tikis is the natural Florida tiki builder and water features designer. With free estimates, P&P Tikis is licensed and insured. Call 352-877-3307 for your very own tiki hut and more. That's 352-877-3307. P&P Tikis.
We are The Source, WOCA, news, talk, sports, and more.
All right, 12 minutes before 10 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. David Goodman is in the studio, and your questions are invited. Your comments are invited as well. 622-9622. What we've learned about David so far is that you and your wife pretty much self-sufficient.
Working on it. Yeah. We still buying oil. We don't have a olive oil plantation.
All right. I promised our listeners we would go to the phone when they called, so let me not talk and let them talk. Good morning. You're on the air with David.
Yes. Good morning, David.
Good morning.
See, when I was growing up many years ago, up in Wisconsin, this time of the year, late April, early May, with my grandfather, we'd go out in the country where there were creeks and pick watercress and eat it. I'd take it home and eat it. Do you hear? Is that like down here? Do they do that?
Watercress doesn't usually grow wild here that I've seen, but there are some other things that are out there that you can eat along the pond margins. I have tried growing watercress in my garden, but it tends to give up in the heat of the summer for some reason. So I just don't think it's as vigorous. It's really a cold season type of a plant.
Right. Well, you know, in the spring, naturally, with the long winters up there, the water was ice cold. You know, your hands, you'd have to pick up real quick because your hands would start freezing off. But, it was wonderful to take home and use in a salad and whatnot. But I just haven't seen that down here.
No, it sounds great. I mean, most of what we have here is we have pickerel weed and we've got the duck potatoes. Of course, we have water hyacinth, which apparently you can eat, even though it's an invasive. If you're interested in looking for wild foraging, there's a Florida guy named Green Dean, and he runs a website called eattheweeds.com, and he does profiles. He's probably got 1,000 plant profiles of wild foods you can pick out of the backyard or pick out of the streams and that sort of thing. But no, not watercress.
How would I talk with him?
Eattheweeds.com.
Okay, that sounds very interesting.
Yep.
All right, thank you. I think you hung up.
Thank you.
I'm not so sure. Now, you have a website also. Tell me your website again.
The website is floridasurvivalgardening.com.
Florida Survival Gardening?
Florida Survival Gardening, yeah.
So what is Florida Food Forest? What is
Florida
that?
Food Forest is my nursery website. So floridafoodforest.com is where I maintain the nursery website. And then
okay, and tell me your
Florida
other one?
Survival Gardening, floridasurvivalgardening.com is my daily Florida site. And I started that site coming up on 3 years ago, and I said, you know, I'm going to do a daily gardening site, and it's going to be focused on this area and what I kill or what I get to grow or what works or what doesn't work, and I do regular updates. You know, we're doing things like testing apple varieties for Florida. So I've got about 15 different varieties of apples growing in my yard that are not really supposed to grow here.
Wow.
And we're trying to figure out, can we make them live? Because there's some research on growing apples in the
You
tropics.
need more land. You need another acre or two.
Well, if anybody wants to give me an acre, I've been trying to buy the acre across the street from me for 5 years. I need more test space for tree crops in particular.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, working on it.
So when you are feeding your family, I mean, your dinner table is literally stuff that grew on your land.
Oh, yeah. I mean, most of the time.
What about butter? I mean, do you have anything?
No, we don't have butter. We kept goats for a period of time, but we realized that they were too intense for the small space we had. We had to buy in feed, and I didn't want to have to buy in a lot of feed. It was just constantly buying hay and trying to take care of them. Plus, my wife was out there milking them twice a day, which that takes time.
Yeah.
And so I've actually I will trade fruit trees sometimes for milk at the farmer's market.
Oh, so you're not opposed to dairy products?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Wow.
I mean, the fresher the better. You know, if you can get something that's local.
Yeah. Well, there's a family. Gosh, in the northern part of town, up near North Marion High School, and I can't remember their name. Maybe if Robin is listening, she can tell me. But they came in, they were guests, and they are self-sufficient as well, but they actually have a farm. Oh, gosh, what is the name of their farm again? Somebody call in and tell me, or Robin, if you're listening. And you might know them. I can't remember. But they brought in their little children, and their little children had never, ever gone to a McDonald's.
All right.
Everything that they had ever eaten was always grown, organically on their property. So is organic something that's important to you? It sounds like it is.
Yeah, we don't use any pesticides on what I grow. In my nursery, though, I will use
Rosa Farms. Rosa, do you know the
Rosa's? Yeah. Rosa's Farm. He's got a little meat shop
it's
there.
It's Buffalo, right?
Right off of yes, I believe he raises buffalo, but Rosa's Farm has they've got grass-fed, organic beef and chicken.
Oh, they do
and all
have
that
beef.
kind of stuff. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
They get it from different places, but local to Florida. They're right off of 441.
Yeah,
right
they
40.
brought us some. The one thing, okay, comment on this, because I think they brought us the whole milk. I mean, the real whole milk that had the cream rising to the top.
Oh, it's marvelous.
You like that?
Yeah,
it was
absolutely.
a little bit yucky to me. I mean, I'm just not used to that.
I find it it's like drinking half and half. It's kind of awesome. But it does. It is funny. The first time I had grass-fed beef, I thought, wow, this has such a strange different flavor.
It does?
Yeah, it's just richer. There's something different to it.
Did you like it though? Yeah.
I liked it, but it was different. And then, after I ate it and ate regular steak again, I was like, I feel like I'm missing something. Now I want grass-fed.
Really?
And I don't have the money for grass-fed.
But you don't eat beef that often, I'm guessing.
No, now and again. A friend of mine grilled steaks the other night for my 3-year-old's birthday, but that was...
Was it grass-fed steaks?
No, it wasn't grass-fed.
So you could tell a big difference.
Yeah, there's definitely a difference. Yeah, and the animals don't... I mean, in the wild, cows don't sit out there and, pig out on grains and get real fat, marbled flesh. They're not out there eating boxes of corn like they fatten them up in a feedlot to make them put on a lot of fat.
Right,
and the grain actually leads to heart disease and other problems in the animals. If a cow keeps eating that, the cows will die eventually from all kinds of problems.
Wow, and they die anyway. I mean,
and they're eventually going to die. Yeah, but.
Do you know what I heard? I heard it was a lady who came in here and she said that a lot of the horse meat that is actually processed is done right here in Ocala.
I have heard that.
Yeah,
I've heard that. I mean, it's probably better than burying them, I suppose. But
that's what it is. It's not like we grow. It's not like we raise horses for the meat. But when horses die, they become meat.
Horses are so beautiful. I have a hard time. I have a hard enough time with rabbits. But
see, this
horses
is
like noble.
See, this is my observation. My observation is we have a hard time killing pretty things.
Yeah, that's right.
My best example is the day I saw a frog is kind of cute. Right. So I see a frog in my garage. I don't want to back out because I'm afraid I'm going to run over.
Right.
I see a roach in my garage. No problem. I back out.
That's right. I think that's why pigs are so popular. Maybe.
Yeah, but we eat them.
I mean, yeah, but they're just that's popular for eating.
Yeah. Do you know what I don't like though? There was a story in the news. I know we're talking more about animals than plants, but call us if you have a question. I don't mind being stopped. And I please, if you have something you want to say, David, this is your time, really.
All right.
But there was a picture that somebody posted. This lady killed a giraffe, and she's posing next to it with a big smile. And it just looked like, why? Why'd you have to do that? I mean.
Yeah, maybe the giraffe shot first.
Yeah, right. Well, she was getting a lot of grief from like Twitter and other people, and so she said, well, he was an old guy anyway. He was not productive anymore. He couldn't have any more offspring, and so, but still, I couldn't.
Yeah, that would be tough. That would definitely be tough.
I mean, I can understand if it's the way you're going to survive, but
personally, I prefer growing. I grow a lot of plants, but. I went on a vegetarian diet for a year, and it was just no good for me at all. Just weak and slow.
They say you're missing some B vitamins or something.
It drops your testosterone levels, particularly for guys. Going vegetarian.
So what'd you do? Lose the facial hair?
Yeah, the facial hair fell. No, all my hair fell out. Yeah.
Did you lose your sex drive?
Yeah, I started acquiring cats. Well, I have 7 children, so losing a drive, that's never been a problem for me. But
yeah, it is.
All those good plants.
You always wanted to be about. What's the word that they use? When to reproduce? What is the word?
The drive to reproduce.
What is that called again?
I'm not sure.
Whatever.
We propagate a lot in the nursery, so it's
propagate.
Yeah. Right? Drive to propagate.
This would never come up with Carol Ann. It's a part of the topics. I don't think all the years.
You haven't covered that.
No. Never talked about losing your sex drive at all with Carol Ann. All right, so Create Your Own Florida Food Forest. This is an awesome book. I mean, do you have is it more than one book? Are there other books for sale?
I do. You actually have a book on composting that's with a publisher. The Create Your Own Florida Food Forest, I self-published because I had a lot of people constantly asking me questions, and when I would do a talk, they would say, "What's the easy thing to grow? How can I grow a lot of food without working too hard?"
Okay.
So I created this. This is a crash course to this area's climate, and goes from taking a lawn into creating a full edible ecosystem, basically a beautiful forest where everything's edible. And I've got lists of species and plants that people have never heard of, and they're things that we've grown and tested and love. But my other book is with a publisher right now and should be out within a couple of weeks, and that is it's called The Good Guide to Composting.
Nice.
Compost Everything is the title of the book, The Good Guide to Composting. And that's extreme composting. Everything from composting logs to meat to fish to human waste to paper.
Human waste?
Everything. Safe composting.
David, we have about a minute and a half and we have a phone call. Good morning, you're on the air with David.
Hi, good morning, David.
Hi, good morning.
I think that with your knowledge and everything and how you practice it, you would be great on one of these survival programs. What was the one there? Naked and Afraid. Where you get your choice of a magnifying
You should go on
glass,
Naked
a
and
knife,
Afraid.
or a fire starter.
Yeah, it's actually it's interesting you would say that, because I do talk with a lot of prepper and survivalist groups, and I have been optioned a couple of times. I was invited to go on those shows, but I just didn't. I like my peaceful little piece north of Ocala, and I didn't quite want to do that to my wife and children. And also, I think when they see my picture, they think, that guy is skinny.
Well, see, that's what I'd be afraid that they wouldn't blur out the right stuff. That would be my fear. David Goodman, you have been a great guest host for Carol Ann Baldwin. Thank you for coming in here. Let's see. How do I end this? Go to David's website, floridasurvivalgardening.com.
That's right.
And floridafoodforests.com. Go to Amazon and get the book and get the Kindle version as well. Thank you, David. That was fun. Do it again.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
When your other book is ready, come call us. We'll have you on. Be on Carol Ann Show, of course, I'm sure.
Sounds great. I'd love to be here with Carol Ann.
Thank you, David.
All right, thank you,
All right,
sir.
we'll be right back.
Fox News Radio, I'm Lillian Wu. A state of emergency declared for Baltimore, where nearly 200 people were arrested in rioting last night. 15 buildings set on fire, more than 140 vehicles torched overnight.
And there was so much gunfire that we could hear, and there were so many people still on the street, basically running right up to the police lines, testing their limits, seeing how much ground they could gain, that it was not safe to be there.